In today's video, we will discuss the 4 horsemen of the apocalypse and why they matter. These riders of doom will bring unimaginable death and destruction during the end times. The book of Revelation, the last book in your Bible, is full of deep mystery and meaning. Revelation explains that there is a scroll with 7 seals that is held in the right hand of God. When Jesus breaks the seals, it will set off the sequence of events that are supposed to happen in the end times. The second coming of Christ concludes the 7 seals. The first 4 seals are referred to as the 4 horsemen of the apocalypse. Each horseman is a harbinger of death, destruction, and disorder that will take place in the last days. The events of the first 4 seals will occur just before the Great Tribulation, the last 3.5 years of this age. Some interpret the significance of the 4 horsemen as events that have been ongoing since this prophecy was given, but will intensify before the rapture. Some theologians believe that the end times are already in motion due to the level of violence, immorality, and disorder in the world today. Are we in the end times? Let's take a look at how the prophecy says the apocalypse will unfold as it is ushered in by the 4 horsemen, as the 4 seals are broken by Jesus. The white horse, a symbol of the Antichrist. White represents purity, light, holiness, and righteousness within Christianity. But the white horseman, described in Revelation 6:2, is none of those things. The white horseman of the apocalypse will be the first to appear. Many misinterpret the white horse as the coming of Christ, but don't be deceived. Underneath this unsuspecting cloak will be the Antichrist, a counterfeit Christ, who will be invisible to unsuspecting eyes. A figure of evil, the Antichrist will be a false prophet who will conquer all who oppose him. Essentially, this first horseman to appear will act as a Trojan horse. He will secretly infiltrate our world before taking hold of it. The identity of the rider is subject to much controversy. Revelation states, "I looked, and there before me was a white horse. Its rider held a bow, and he was given a crown, and he rode out as a conqueror, bent on conquest." Because the rider is wearing a crown, we can assume that the Antichrist may be a prominent leader, because the crown is a symbol of leadership and authority. Because he is shown with a bow, but no arrows, it is believed that he will not conquer by force, but through other means. The red horse, a symbol of war. When the second seal breaks, a red horse with a sword-wielding rider will appear. His mission will be to take peace from the entire earth. Revelation 6:4 says, "Then another horse came out, a fiery red one. Its rider was given the power to take peace from the earth and to make men slay each other. To him was given a large sword." It is believed that the second horseman refers to the terrible warfare that will break out in the end times. In the 20th century alone, 180 million men, women, and children were killed in wars. It seems every day brings more horrible news of mass murders, terrorism, and conflicts taking place all over the world. Matthew 24:21 says, For then shall be great tribulation, such as was not since the beginning of the world to this time, no, nor ever shall be." This verse in Matthew leads many to believe that the worst warfare is yet to come, that the dark time this horseman will usher in will follow a time of turmoil on a global scale that humanity has never seen or can imagine. The Black Horse, a symbol of famine. Most societies throughout the world have struggled with devastating famine at one point in history or another. Those of us who are fortunate by way of geography or economics don't have to worry where our next meal is coming from. But when the Black Horse of the apocalypse comes, starvation will become a reality even for the richest and resourceful nations of the world. Revelation 6:5-6 says, "And there before me was a black horse. Its rider was holding a pair of scales in his hand. Then I heard what sounded like a voice among the four living creatures, saying, 'A quart of wheat for a day's wages, and 3 quarts of barley for a day's wages. And do not damage the oil and the wine. We know this horseman will bring famine due to the pair of balances or weighing scales he is carrying,' which refers to the way bread would have been weighed during times of scarcity in ancient times. What is particularly interesting about the Black Horseman, that he is the only one whose appearance is accompanied by a voice that speaks about the prices of wheat and barley. He also says, 'And see thou hurt not the oil and the wine.' This statement might foreshadow a time when a minimum sustenance diet will cost an entire day's pay. It also might suggest that this famine will not affect the rich, as wine and oil were seen as luxury items when this prophecy was written. The scarcity of food and inflation of the prices and goods often follows war, so it makes sense that this horseman comes third in the succession. What we don't know is whether factors such as extreme weather conditions and drought will also play a role in creating this widespread famine. The Pale Horse, a symbol of death. By the time the first 3 seals are completed, many lives will have been lost due to the war and starvation that has swept the world. However, the death toll will only rise when the 4th and final horseman of the apocalypse appears. The only horseman with a name, aptly called Death, will ride in on a pale, greenish horse that resembles the sickly, pallor color of a corpse. He is the only horseman who does not carry a weapon or object when he appears. However, he is followed by Hades, the resting place of the dead. Hades will follow the 4th horseman wherever he goes, as he is on his quest to claim lives. As the horseman stampedes across the earth, he will have the authority to claim a 4th of the world's population. Revelation 6:7-8 says, "And I looked up and saw a horse whose color was pale green like a corpse, and Death was the name of its rider, who was followed around by the grave. They were given authority over 1/4 the earth, to kill with the sword, and famine, and disease, and wild animals. When their work is done, Death and Hades ultimately are cast into the lake of fire, but this is only the beginning. The conclusion of the 4 horsemen brings about the Great Tribulation, a time of Satan's wrath, followed by a time of suffering before Jesus Christ returns to earth. The 4 horsemen are just the beginning. The 4 horsemen prophecies are sobering looks at the state the world is in, and how much worse things can and will get. In the end times, humanity will be divided into 2 groups: those of us who are saved, and those of us who are not. While it's unhealthy to worry too much about when the last days will come, Christians can spend their time on earth as good and faithful servants. Thank you for watching the 4 Horsemen of the Apocalypse and why they matter. Make sure to like this video and subscribe to this channel so you will be the first to hear our new daily messages. See you next time, and may God bless you.